So I got my drawer redone. I can put a latch on here so that way when I push that in, it won't open anymore because it's got a little lock back there. Hopefully that'll keep this from happening again because that's what I'm fixing now. Okay guys, so here's the situation. On my Cougar 29 RKS, there is a very big problem with some drawers behind the sink that interfere with the slide. When I picked it up from the dealership crunched the drawer with the slide. I took it immediately to my parents' house because it was in Michigan where I bought the camper. And the first time that I put the slide out, guess what? I crunched the drawer again. So for a while, every time I would open the drawers, I would go and check and make sure that it was shut. But I got a little bit lazy. I actually ordered some, I have some magnetic latches on there and they're pretty strong. A lot of people talk about using them whenever they're doing like off-roading and stuff. But they haven't opened up with those latches for over a year. And so I had actually bought some positive catch latches, but I didn't put them in because I had pretty good faith in those. Well, they finally failed me the other day and crunched the drawer, tore the trim loose that goes along the side of the slide back here, and had to take the outer piece off so I could screw that piece of OSB tighter back to the slide there. So I also got to rebuild the drawer a little bit. I had to get new drawer slides. I got to put the bottom of the drawer, I got to secure it back on. So we're going to get that taken care of. And then we're going to take this problem and we're going to fix it for good. We're going to install these positive drawer catches here. And so essentially this comes out the front of the drawer and you push it and it locks with that little tab so the drawer cannot open until you push that back down to lower that. I've had a couple of different ways I've done this. Like I said, I had the magnetic things on there. Before that, I did just some child latches for a drawer. Those didn't stick very well for very long at all. And they messed the finish up on the drawer when they came off. So I don't recommend that. I think this is going to be the permanent solution that's going to help the most. If you have one that's not in an area where it's that bad, I do suggest using the magnetic catches because they're pretty strong magnets. I have 2 of them on each of these drawers. But like I say, they did fail me once. So if you're going to have the drawer and it's going to be where the slide will hit it if it's open, I would really suggest something like this where whenever you push it, it lowers that tab and manually locks it in and out. So in order to do these, I put one in already because I wasn't quite sure exactly how this worked, and I'd ordered these a while back, but I didn't put them in because they did seem to be pretty complicated. Now, some things that I've learned during this process, I actually learned from a couple other videos, was in order to mount this, basically what you're going to do is you're going to measure from the center of this to the top. But that's the way I did it the first time and I was wrong, and I'm glad that I double checked before I drilled the holes. So here's what you really do. Now first of all, you have to be able to know exactly where your drawer meets the cabinet face, and so that's kind of hard to do. Luckily with the bottom drawer on mine, I was able to reach my hand through the top hole and mark that area, so I knew exactly where that lined up to. And for the top one, I'm just going to be using that same measurement because I can't get in there, and I'm going to hope that it all measures the same and the drawer face has the same overhang. So what we're going to do in order to measure this, because you have to also leave room for the tab there. Well, this is the catch, okay? First of all, when you put it on the cabinet face, you're not going to want to put it right on the edge. You're going to want to put it back a little bit because see how it's going to hold it tight there? If you left it flush with the edge, it would open up a little bit, about 1/8 of an inch. So you're going to want to put it about 1/8 of an inch back past the cabinet face when you install this. Now, in order to get the correct measurement, you're going to want to go from the center of this up to the top of this, because you're going to want to leave room for this whole mechanism to go in and out and be able to open and close. And for this particular one, that's 1 inch. Okay, so it's 1 inch from the midpoint of the diameter of this shaft to the very top, and that it's going to work out great for us. So I'm going to put the new drawer slides and stuff on here. I'm going to fix this drawer, and then we're going to walk you through step by step how I'm putting this on my 29 RKS. Now, if you have a different camper, then even if you have the same camper, who says they didn't change the cabinet? So this measurement that I'm going to give you for my specific cabinet may not apply. So just know that. And I'm not a professional. I have built a few cabinets, but things like latches and stuff always get on my nerves, and they just don't usually work out the way you want them to. I got the other one worked out, so hopefully when I'm recording this one, everything will go all hunky-dory. Just know it didn't happen on the first go-around. Okay, so we got that fixed. So it is catching the magnetic locks here, but we're going to install the positive manual lock. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the center point here. It's 26 1/4, so that's 13 1/8. And then based on my measurements with the other drawer, I need to go down 1 3/4 inches, which is just right above this, which brings me to another point. This has to mount flush against the cabinet face, and it can't do that with this box in here. So I'm going to have to cut out a little bit around there, roughly mark on both sides here. We're going to go down about that far. Nobody will ever see that anyway. The easiest way to do that is with an oscillating saw. Now it's not going to be the prettiest cut. All right, so now I got more room. I'll go down 1 3/4 inches. Here's my center mark. So it's going to be right there. I want to double check our 13 1/8. So right there is where I want my hole. Measure twice, cut once. So 1 3/4. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use just a small drill bit to show on the front where we're going to want to come out with this. Then I'm going to use a Forstner bit. You could use a spade bit, but the issue is if you use that from the inside, you're going to have a mess on the outside. So small drill bit just to know your placement. Keep it as straight as possible. We'll flip our drawer around. So we have our hole right here that came out. Now we're going to use a bigger drill bit to go through. I'm just going to use that hole as the center point. Now the next thing we're going to do, this goes in this hole, but it's going to be too tight to fit in. The first one that I put on, I used a board and I hit it in, but it was too tight for the mechanism to work. So we're going to open that hole up a little bit. For these particular latches that I'm using, and most of them apparently are like a 3/4 inch drill bit, and that's what I have here. I'm just going to use a Dremel tool and a sanding drum to just open this up a little bit. Oops, don't do that. Almost there, not quite. You want it to be tight enough to stay in. I think that'll do it. And then before you get too far, just go ahead and stick this through the back. And make sure just holding it there, that it's gonna latch and unlatch. Now this is the next hardest part. You want this to be still pretty flat, but you got to put the screws in, and that can tilt the angle a little bit, I found out. Something else that I saw in the videos, if you over tighten these screws, that can interfere with the mechanism. So they're pretty loose right now, but they're secure. It's as tight as I can get them with it working every time I push it. So that's what we're going to stay with for now. So now we're going to find the center here. That's 24 and a half. So that's 12 and a quarter. And then we're going to get down here, we're going to put this catch in. Also remembering that we don't want it to be in the very front. Alright, so let's test her out. This one's too tight. I'm gonna have to move that a little bit, and that's what gets on your nerves about these little latches. They're really finicky.